Hey everyone, welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are in our video. Before we dive in, remember to subscribe to our channel and share this video so you don't miss the latest updates. Thank you for being here. Cenk, Torun and Mahassine Merabet, whose paths crossed while working side by side on a popular television drama, were once the couple every set was whispering about. Their chemistry was undeniable, their scenes felt like stolen moments from real life. And the way they carried that brief, bright romance made people believe in the kind of love that starts under studio lights and lasts long after the cameras stop. They parted ways years ago, but if you felt that their thread was never fully severed, you're not alone. What happened this week opened that chapter again, and it's shaken fans from Istanbul to the far corners of social media. Mahassine's answer to an unexpectedly personal question on a television program has set the entertainment world buzzing. Calm, poised, and disarmingly honest, she revealed that the feelings she once held for her former partner, Cenk, never vanished completely. She spoke with the clarity of someone who has wrestled with memory and learned to live with it. Her words carried weight. Life can refuse to align with our plans, distance doesn't always kill tenderness, and there are loves that don't ask to be given back, only to be acknowledged. In a voice that felt more like a confession than a headline, she essentially said, "Sometimes the heart keeps its vows, even when the relationship cannot. Love," she suggested, "doesn't always require staying together." Within minutes, that clip overtook timelines. Fans split into two fierce camps. One group cried out for a reunion, writing that time only clarified what always existed and that some stories deserve a second act. Others urged caution, saying that the past is a place to visit, not live in, and praising Mahassine for carving out her own path and growth. Yet behind the debates and the hashtags that never quite formed, something else stirred, whispers from people who claimed to know what the cameras didn't capture. Rumors from close circles are painting the edges of this story in bolder colors. For months now, it's alleged, Cenk and Mahassine have met quietly. No paparazzi, no statements, nothing that could be easily stitched into gossip. Just private conversations and fleeting moments away from public eyes. And then came the birthday party tale. A mutual friend's celebration, music drifting through warm air, old colleagues laughing at the same old jokes. Witnesses say the two spent a long time talking, longer than anyone expected. That the tension of their history seemed to loosen. That their glances softened. That it looked for a moment like they remembered who they were to each other before the world had a say. Cenk, for his part, has chosen to remain publicly silent. He hasn't denied, hasn't confirmed, hasn't chased the spotlight or tried to outrun it. But those who claim to be close to him insist he has spoken in private with restraint and kindness. To friends, he is said to have shared that his memories of Mahassine are laced with respect and gratitude, and that affection is a current that never truly stopped moving beneath the surface. Whether that means a reunion is on the horizon is anyone's guess. Only they know what is unfolding between them right now. What Mahassine said was more than a spontaneous flourish. People close to her insist it was a deliberate closing of the distance between who she once was and who she is now. Not a bid for attention, not a performance, rather a way to settle old shadows and to honor what was real. And yet, her words have reignited the one storyline their audience never seems to tire of. Could their love find its way back? The possibility has sparked a storm of speculation, because the story of Cenk and Mahassine has never been one that merely lived on screen. For so many, it became a symbol, two people who met in the glare of set lights and somehow made the glow feel honest. To understand why her confession shook so many, you have to step back to the beginning. Their romance started quietly, while working long hours on a set that was always in a rush. Between rehearsals, late-night script changes, and those intimate scenes that require trust, they found something that felt effortless. For a long time they kept it secret, choosing privacy over spectacle. The lines they delivered for the camera began to sound like their own words, and fans could sense that something authentic pulsed beneath their roles. When their show wrapped, they kept going, holding hands away from the monitors, trying to carry into real life what had been born under bright lights. But the schedules grew brutal. Work took them in different directions. The future they imagined never settled into one shape. The end, when it came, wasn't a scandal, it was a fracture shaped by time, ambition, and the quiet ways that distance wins. There was no public meltdown, no exchange of barbs. They withdrew, focusing on their careers, letting silence do what statements never could. Years passed. New projects came and went. Their paths crossed in public from time to time, but their story stayed folded shut. Still, there are relationships that go quiet without ever going cold. And when Mahassine was asked in that interview if there was someone from her past she would never forget, the pause was brief but loaded. She spoke clearly. "There is a person," she said. "A love that shifted form but did not disappear. A feeling that matured even as it stepped back." It was not a plea for reconciliation, at least, not in the way headlines crave. It was a recognition. She acknowledged that sometimes you cannot walk alongside someone forever and still carry them with you, gently, as a compass point you no longer chase but always know. Her words triggered a nostalgic wave. Old clips from their scenes resurfaced, shared again and again, re-edited into montages that tried to capture lightning in digital form. The photos from their early days together got dug up by fans who never stopped hoping. And then came the birthday story, told and retold, with minute details changing depending on who was remembering. Some say they laughed like no time had passed, that they stood a little too close, that the night felt like an old song played on a better speaker. Others claim they spoke about complicated things, that apologies were offered without the word ever being used, that they confronted the misunderstandings that once stood between them like a closed door. Of course, the question now bouncing from account to account remains the same: did they reconcile? Or are they simply two people being honest with each other at last? Cenk has offered no statement to the public. Those who work with him say he has learned that love flourishes best when it is not a performance, and that whatever unfolds will do so quietly. Yet again, there is that whispered line attributed to him, that he will always hold a soft spot for Mahassine, that time has only made his appreciation more deliberate. It isn't a yes, it isn't a no. It's a way of saying that what they had mattered, and still does, in some evolving form. The timeline, 2016, long days under studio lights, the sudden ascension to being the couple everyone talked about, returns like a refrain. They were praised for their effortless synergy, the kind that makes directors relax and viewers lean in. When the news of their separation arrived, it felt abrupt to many, as if a favorite show had ended mid-season. After that, the silence stretched. They poured themselves into work, sharpened their craft, proved that their identities could stand fiercely apart from any love story. But every so often, a shared look at an event, a politely exchanged comment, or a stray rumor would ripple outward, reviving the old question that will not die: have they truly moved on? Mahassine's recent appearance on that program changed the tone. When asked if she had ever known a love she could not forget, she didn't evade. Her reply felt lived in, like a note passed quietly to those who would understand. She admitted that yes, there is a chapter she still reads sometimes in secret, not to reopen the book but to honor the story. It was vulnerable, and therefore brave. For fans who spent years stretching threads between them, it felt like validation without being a promise. What happens next is perilously hard to predict. Perhaps they will meet again and decide that the time that once worked against them now works in their favor. Or perhaps they will remain what they are at this moment, two artists who once shared a life and now share an unbreakable respect. The one certainty is the place their names hold in the lore of television romance. There are love stories that are flashy and end with a crash, and there are love stories that vanish into the quiet while still leaving a glow in the room. Theirs belongs to the latter, which is why it lingers, why a few words from Mahassine could stir so much, so fast. And for those who wonder if her confession was a calculated move, the people around her dismiss that idea. They say she spent years choosing silence precisely because she did not want to use her heart as currency. They say that if she spoke now, it is because she is finally at peace with the shape of the past. For some, that peace may pave a road forward. For others, it offers closure with dignity. Either way, the impact is the same. We are talking about them again, not because the old story demands to be copied, but because the feeling at its center never quite stopped breathing. So, are Cenk, Torun and Mahassine Merabet on the verge of a new beginning? Or did they simply open a window to let the old air out and the light in? The cameras will watch, the feeds will refresh, and speculation will keep spinning. But in the spaces where only they can hear each other, perhaps there is a conversation still unfolding, measured and careful, the kind that people have when they are not trying to win, but to tell the truth. This brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed our story, please subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and share the video so more people can join the conversation. Until next time, take care.